Hi friends, I'm excited to be here with you today to share a layout for technique focus. And my focus today is going to be using tone-on-tone embellishments and clusters to create my layout. So I started with these fantastic little envelopes that were in the January kits, and then I went through all of the papers and different pieces and parts and found coordinating pattern papers to go with each of the envelopes. And these little strips I used border punch from my stash, and I am using that to almost create like a little shelf for each of the envelopes to sit on. So I went through and used all different pieces from the January kits to find coordinating papers, and went ahead and cut those borders. And now I'm going to trim them up. I want them to be just a little bit wider than the actual envelope itself. So I'm trimming all those pieces off, and then you'll kind of get a feel for how the layout's going to look. That one was a little thick, so I trimmed that a little bit more. So you can see each of those little pieces of paper matches very closely to the envelope itself, and then I do go back and rough up the edges of those just for a little more texture. And I didn't put all of that on camera, so I kind of sped ahead there. And now what I'm going to be doing is tracing a pencil line where each of those needs to go. I am using my T-square ruler to make sure that it's straight. And I'm writing the color that I'm using as I do that, so that when I take all of those pieces off and I go to add a little bit of mixed media to the background, I know where the colors go. All right, so now I'm going to pull out this little bucket. Here is all of my things. If you order the color kits each month, you have lots of the same stuff that I do then in this little bucket. So this is all of my Hip Kit color kit stuff. So I pulled out, I'm using all of the colors in the January color kit, and then I added a few from other months that we've had. So I am doing just a little bit of color. So where the line was, I went below the line and kind of around it, because I want it to kind of go around where I have that piece of patterned paper that I used the border punch on. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just pulling out a few things. Everything is from Shimmers except for this one that I'm doing right now. That's a Lindy's powder, magical powder, and it is Beach Ball Blue, and it's from a past kit. So I added a little bit of the powder there. It was already wet from the other Shimmers products, and so I added just the powder to it and added a touch of water to blend that. And so I was trying to match that darker blue. The color that I'm using right now is a Shimmers, so it comes already wet, and it is called Slow Ocean. Nice and shiny because it's a Shimmers original formula. That color is, this blue color that I'm using is a Creamies Ride the Tide. So I used it at first and I had not let the water sit long enough in it. So I added a little bit more water and sat it there to kind of soak in, and then you'll see when I go back in a minute, it's going to be much more vivid. The orange is an Inklings Cantaloupe, and that's from the January color kit. And so was the Slow Ocean earlier too. Okay, the yellow is a Shimmers. It's the original Shimmers formula, and it's called Sunny, and that's from a past kit. Or that might be from the January. I think it's a past kit. And then the pink that I'm using here is an Inklings, so it did come dry. I have already used it several times, so I had already put the water in there, but originally it comes dry, and you want to put water in it and let it sit for a little bit. And that's called Beats Me, and it's a fabulous pinky purpley color. Okay, so you can see there that the blue is much better after I let it sit for a little bit. And I am going to do a touch of the Slow Ocean in there just because it wasn't exactly a blue. That patterned paper, it's kind of a turquoisey blue. So I am using some blending of colors here to get all those colors just right. And then the green, I do not have in front of me, so I can't remember the name of it, but it's from the November color kit, that darker green. And then I did a touch again of a little bit of Slow Ocean in there to make it the right color green. So I am going to sit that off to dry for a little while. And by the magic of video, it's going to come in just a second back here, and now it's all dry. So I did let that dry overnight. You can see I'm wearing a different shirt because it is the next day. So I let that get good and dry so that when I started gluing stuff down to it, it would stick really well. I am using a dry adhesive just to hold it in place for right now, and then a wet adhesive to hold it in place permanently. Anytime you're gluing or adhering something to the top of something that has a lot of shimmer or like little teeny tiny pieces of metallics in them, you do need to use a stronger adhesive. So that's just a little bit of a tip there. And then for these border pieces that I had cut that I'm gluing down now, I did just add adhesive at the top of those. So I want the bottom piece, like where the actual pattern is, I want that to be able to be roughed up a little bit and have a little texture on the page. So just the adhesive at the top. And then now I'm gluing down the envelopes. And for those, I added adhesive just to the rectangular piece, the bottom of the envelope. Some of them I will go back and add, like as I start adding embellishments on top, I will go back and add a little bit more adhesive to the top, but some of them I kind of want to sit up a little bit. And then this, I am using one of the metal dies from January and the Project Life, one of the Project Life cards. And these were perfect for tone-on-tone embellishment. There was lots of different pieces on those little cards. You can see there. And the die is perfectly coordinated with the size of everything, so you don't have to cut any of that stuff out. The die cuts it out for you, which is awesome. So it was easy for me to go through and find lots of pieces to use for tone-on-tone embellishment. So here I've kind of got little piles of stuff just sitting on top of the envelopes, ready to be put down. I am using that floral patterned paper from the January main kit. I pulled out some leaves and some flowers, not a whole lot. It's not a super florally layout, but I did put a few. I couldn't help myself. I had to put a few flowers. So I'm going to do a little bit more fussy cutting. I'm one of those strange people that loves to fussy cut. So I love when I get a great patterned paper that has lots of things that I can cut out of it because it gives you lots more options for embellishments. So now I've got my photos. I do print my photos myself now. I used to order them always, and now I bought an Epson PictureMate 400, and so I love printing my own photos. It makes it a lot easier to find the perfect ones for a layout. So these pictures are from a sweet family Saturday where we went to a new restaurant and had a great time. So it was a happy memory. And I thought those looked super cute, kind of tucked in there. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to spend some time going through and adhering all of the embellishments down. So the technique is tone on tone. So I found lots of perfectly coordinated orange bits and pieces to go on that orange envelope. I did the photo of my husband is of him wearing an orange shirt, which I thought went really well with that envelope. So I did try to pay attention to that just a little bit. Not all the photos are like that, but that one I thought was perfect for that orange envelope. So I'm just kind of tucking in lots of little bits and pieces. My favorite thing about scrapbooking, one of my favorite things to do on pages is to add lots and lots of different layers. So I am adding craft foam in between the layers to give lots of texture and dimension. And I have several different layers, different levels of craft foam, so thicknesses of craft foam, so that all of those layers are at different heights. So then I pulled out patterned paper from the main kit and the Project Life. That little blue card is from the Project Life kit. So I did coordinate the patterned paper that acted as a frame or a mat for my photo. That's also color coordinated to the envelope that it's going in. and it's a super thin mat because it has to fit inside the envelope. So it's not a thick mat that around each of those photos, but they are all color coordinated. And there you can see I adhered down the top of that envelope because that picture is going to be tucked in there. And I'm adding craft foam to the back of the picture before I stick it in that envelope. So on this one, I'm using that same green card from the Project Life kit that I cut the border out of. I'm also using that same exact piece. Thank goodness it fit, just barely it fit as a mat for that photo in that same envelope. When using tone on tone as a technique, it does help if your tones have varying shades of the same color. So for example, on that orange that you see that I'm working on right now, the orange flower is a little bit darker. It's the same color. It's the exact same orange, but it's just a little bit darker shade of the orange. So that helps keep the visual interest. Sometimes if you're doing tone on tone and all of your colors are the exact same, it doesn't give you enough variation for your eye, and it kind of gets boring and stuff gets lost. So by having, like on this turquoise one that I'm doing right now, I have from those Project Life little pieces, one of them is a light turquoise, and then there's another little strip that I'm kind of layering on top of it. You can see just right at the top of this little phrase that I'm adhering down right now, adding some craft foam to. You can see that there's also a darker little phrase. So that helps right there. That helps give visual interest, and it kind of pulls out the colors in the darker turquoise patterned paper and all of that. So you want to have variations on the color for tone on tone. This is another great example for the blue. That little tab piece that I used, the little flag, is a darker blue than the envelope. And then this is a lighter blue piece that I'm kind of layering on top of it. And then that circle is a different shade of the same color. So the beautiful thing about hip kits that makes tone on tone embellishing really easy is that all of the colors are perfectly coordinated. So they always put in lots of different shades of the same color. So that helps. If you buy multiple kits, you'll have lots and lots and lots of things to choose from. So you'll see here in a minute, I'm going to be using foam stickers from the kits and chipboard stickers and all different kinds of things that make tone on tone really easy for a page here. Also, the other thing that is helpful with doing tone on tone is that your shapes are not all the same. So here I've got circles and rectangles and little flags and then floral pieces. So there's lots of different shapes and things to keep it interesting. But I'm doing them all clustered together so it's not too busy. Although a busy layout never has bothered me. So, but if you like things to be a little more simple, it does help to keep all of those clusters really tight together. But I'm a more is more girl, so it never bothers me to have lots of things going on. But that's a natural thing. Tone on tone does help. Like if your mind has a hard time seeing lots and lots of things on the page, doing things in color clusters does help kind of calm down all of that visual stuff that's going on. So this is a page you should try. Here I pulled out, this is an ephemera piece. I love this little, it's like a banner. So I am adding craft foam to it, but then I'm going to go, after I've already added my craft foam and my adhesive, I decided I needed to trim off some of the white border. So it was a little bit too much white for me. So you should never be afraid to embellish your embellishments. So, and kind of make them your own. Some people love white borders on their ephemera and some people don't. So you can do either way. Here I'm pulling out, trying to find a few more little things to go in the pink envelope. So for the envelopes that don't have photos sticking out of them, I'm going now and adding a few little embellishments, a few little pieces of ephemera, like that one says noted. And that's just going to be kind of tucked in there inside the envelope. Here I'm pulling out a few more floral pieces. These are chipboard stickers, so I pulled that green. It's going to be a green camera. It's stuck on my finger right now as I'm working, but I'm going to put it down in just a second. So I'm doing lots of little pieces right on top of each other. And this little tool that I'm using, that's a Tim Holtz edge distressor. So that just helps rough up it's got like little teeny tiny blades in it that help rough up the edges of things. So now I'm fussy cutting some more floral pieces. And the edge, the scissors that I'm using are Tim Holtz scissors. And they're very pointy. I have the size that I'm using right there, and then I have a pair that's even smaller if I'm using like teeny tiny things to cut out. So those are perfect for fussy cutting because they allow you to get in, like on those leaves, it allows me to get in and cut the white parts off of those teeny tiny little pieces. You can see that I've got lots of varied sizes. So little tiny, like that little tiny heart that I had just glued down, this little tiny blue flower. So I'm layering little smaller pieces of the same color on top of each other. Now I'm going to go and add some little clusters of enamel dots. Or these are little puffy dots, like enamel dots. And I do those in little clusters of 3. It's just in my mind how I like how they look when they're in little clusters of 3. I skipped ahead there, so I added them all around. And then off camera, I do end up going back and adding some little puffy, almost like little puffy paint, pops of color to each of those as well, or around each of those little clusters as well. I'm roughing up those borders. And then there's the still shot of the layout. And then I'm going to have some close-ups of each color. Hope you enjoyed the process. If you did, I hope you will subscribe to the Hip Kit channel. You can tap the bell for notifications. And then I have a link below to get to the website for the kits, and also to the blog if you're interested in reading the descriptions. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining in. Bye, guys.